Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new edition of the Whole 115 Yards Women's Football Podcast. We're back this evening talking all things Women's Euros in our international special. Joining me this evening are some very good friends of mine who you might recognise from the Part of the Pride Aston Villa podcast. And we also have Camilla joining us a bit later to talk all things Italy as well. Been watching this tournament with eagle eyes, and we can't wait to discuss all of the key moments from match day one right the way up to Wednesday night's hard-fought semi-final between Germany and Spain. First up, though, we need to start right at the very beginning. As Julie Andrews once said, it's a very good place to start, where some teams impressed in the group stages, some underperformed, some left us wanting more, and really, some left us questioning what on earth is going to happen next. It did, however, positively give us some glimpses of some of Europe's most underrated players. So in this section, we're going to be discussing, did the right teams top the group? Did anyone underperform, as we've just mentioned? And were there any standout performers or ones to watch for the future? And if anyone can hear any baby noises in the background, that will be my 7-month-old refusing to go to sleep. So guest appearances from babies, because we are an all-inclusive family podcast here at the Whole 115 Yards. But yeah, Sophie, Emma, how are you both this evening?
I'm good, thank you. I might also have guest appearances from the cat, who decides every time I do a podcast that it's his time to shine.
There's a lot of that going on lately because, of course, for people who've been following us, we have partnered with the Absolute Football Podcast for the Euros to do lots of our live streams. Paul's cat Nancy is also a cat who loves the limelight as well. Lots of cats coming to the foreground. Yeah, Emma, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm
all right.
Muggy.
It's a bit warm, it's a bit muggy.
I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah, I'm ready for what weather to come in now.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've had a couple of thunderstorms the past couple of days.
Yeah.
It's been quite nice. It has been quite nice. The dog's hates it. He hates the rain.
We've had a drizzle.
A drizzle. Muggy drizzle. Can't get any worse, can you? Now, before we started talking about the weather, as good old English people do, we did say we're going to introduce the group stages. So let's have a look there, shall we? So we have, of course, groups A to Group A. Let's start there, as it's at the top, was composed of Norway, Switzerland, Finland, and Iceland. Now, when the draw was announced, and of course, we had Group D, the group of death, which we will talk about later. Group A literally could have been anyone's for the taking. Sophie, did you have any ideas about which way this could go? Because it was quite open, wasn't it, this group?
Yeah, I thought Norway were going to get through because they've got so many good players in their team. Like, if they didn't get out of the group, I feel like that would have been an absolute failure. And then I was hoping Switzerland would make it out just because it's a home tournament for them. They're the hosts. It's good for them to do well. But honestly, it could have been anybody's.
It literally could have been anybody. No, I had exactly the same sentiments as you. I was like, this is Switzerland's opportunity to really show up for their women's side, isn't it? And as we saw with all the record-breaking attendances, they absolutely have. Emma, what about you when you first saw this group and ultimately how we know it panned out? Do you think Norway and Switzerland were the rightful winners of this one?
Yeah, but it was a bit undermining, to be fair. Like, it was a bit, no, not undermining, underwhelming.
I think there we go, yeah.
I thought there was going to be a lot more goals in the matches between, obviously, the four teams because, I mean, I'm just looking at match day one and it was 1-0 Finland. Like, that game could have had so many more goals and been so much more exciting. So it wasn't a very exciting group, but I think Switzerland somehow managed to pull it together in the second match. And then they do deserve to go through. And I wanted them to go through purely because of the home advantage as well. And what would have happened if Switzerland went out at the groups? Would the fans still have gone? Like, would the attendances still have been that record-breaking? So lots of ifs, lots of buts.
Yes, lots of ifs, lots of buts. But breaking records, as we said. Yeah, Sophie, what were you going to say?
I will say Finland really impressed, though, in the groups. I actually thought maybe they deserved it slightly more than Norway. Norway seemed to get very lucky.
Well, we kind of...
Yeah.
We nicknamed Norway as a bit of a jammy team, didn't we? Because they just kept seeming to find ways through. So if we look at the first game, it was Norway 2, Switzerland 1. Then they managed to get the last minute winner against Finland 2-1 in match day 2. And then it was the proper ding dong, as we can call it, because it was a 4-3 on match day 3 of the group stages, because suddenly they came together and they had goals. And in that game, Iceland finally showed up as well, didn't they? Because I actually predicted Iceland as one of the ones to go through. Probably not top, but I said, yeah, probably going to be Norway and Iceland because of how Iceland can frustrate teams and they can really go for it. And yeah, so I didn't see them having the tournament I expected either. And they actually finished bottom of the group with 0 points. And it was bizarre. So yeah.
I think I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah, I really do as well. Because you've got the likes of, Brynjar's who we know from the WSL. You've got Viggo's all of the Dottiers, of course. But they had an early red card as well in that first match. So do you think getting a red card so early on in that first game, Emma, do you think that had any impact on how they perform for the rest of the matches?
Well, that immediately leaves you without probably one of your best players for 3 matches. So I feel like then at that point they'd probably their heads would just gone down. So I feel like, yeah, it definitely did have a knock-on effect, because it's like if England did get a red card in the World Cup, but somehow that made us better. But I suppose for some teams, if you've not got that key player or that good player, then the other players aren't quite up to par. And that sounds really mean to say, but you choose your starting 11 because they're the best 11 at the end of the day, and the others are like your super subs, or they're there to train and get the experience, that kind of thing, and they're there for injuries. So losing someone from your starting 11 that early on in match day 1 is just heartbreaking, really, isn't it?
It's a proper knock-on confidence. Like you said, some teams, as we saw with Germany later on, you go down to 10 and either you really come together and you really power through, or everything just kind of falls apart. And unfortunately for Iceland, I think it was the latter.
I do just want to say, though, with the red cards, a red card, it doesn't matter how you get a red card in the Euros, it's only a 1-match ban.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did I not know this?
Different rules, because it's UEFA, isn't it? Rather than
But yes, so it's a 1-match ban if it's a straight red, but it's also a 1-match ban if it's 2 yellows, which makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
I know it's a short tournament, but I feel like a straight red should at least be a 2-match ban.
Yeah.
It's at discretion, it can be increased, I think, if I'm right.
Yes, because with Heinrich, which we're going to see later in the Germany game, that was then reviewed, but they didn't take any further action. So so it can be upped, as you said, but just the 1 match for getting the card. It is, I agree. Now, also part of this tournament, we've had a lot of awful penalties, haven't we, going through? And unfortunately for Arda Hegerberg, it hasn't been the tournament that she would want to remember.
She's had a mare.
Put ever so poetically. Yes, thank you, Emma. Thank you indeed. So over the course of the tournament, and we'll talk about the quarterfinal a bit later with Camilla, she missed 2 penalties during this tournament. And you just think, for someone who, again, one of the big names in this Norwegian team, you just think it has to be better at this level. But Sophie, you were saying before, actually watching through the group stages, there hasn't been a team that's really stood out as they're definitely going to win it because they're at the top of their game. It's almost as if a lot of them are through, aren't they?
Good in the groups last night. It's been a very long time.
Yes, it was last night.
Yeah. That was just painful for a long time.
It was. So let's move on to Group B then. So from Group A, just to recap, so Norway and Switzerland did get through. Switzerland just getting through on goal difference. Finland had the same amount of points, but Switzerland had scored 1 extra goal. It was that tight in Group A. Group B then, so this was Spain's group. So we all said, right, Spain looked impressive in the group stages because, Emma, they came out the first match, didn't they? 5-0 against Portugal. Then it was 6-2 against Belgium. And then...
Oh, I missed that match. I'm so fuming.
Which one?
The 6-2. I missed it because I was at training and I'm fuming about it.
How dare you train during a tournament? They seem like the only team that were really scoring goals. So yeah, do you want to talk a bit more kind of about Spain in this group stage? Did you think that they would go all the way at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it from the start. I said that if England don't win it, then I think it could be Spain's, purely because of how dominating they've been, like within the World Cup. Their unders have been dominating on every stage, to be fair as well. So those youngsters coming up through the ranks, I was like, well, it's going to be Spain's. If it's not if it's not going to be England, Germany, then it's probably going to be Spain. And then they were just banging the goals in, like, through the groups. But then they've kind of dipped off a bit, like there's not as many goals, which has its pros and has its cons, because I don't really enjoy watching one-sided games. So, like, that 5-0 against Portugal was a bit too one-sided for me. Like, I like a bit of spice, I like a bit of flavour, and I like goals coming from both sides, really. I love a counter-attack, like, that's my favourite thing.
Sure, with that on.
But I'm not really sure what happened last night.
Yeah, and it's
much.
But you'd expect it to an extent, wouldn't you? Because in the group stages, you're possibly put with other teams who might not be at your exact level, who, you are expected to beat. And I think, unfortunately, Portugal, as much as they're building and they are developing as a team, Spain is still quite far above them, aren't they? So yeah, that was probably expected. The Belgium one, I thought Belgium would have done a lot better. And I think for me in Group B, I kind of thought it's got to be Spain finishing top. I hoped it would be Italy to finish second, but ultimately it could have been there for the taking for those other three teams. So it was Italy, Belgium, and Portugal.
Yeah.
But Belgium, we saw when they played England in the Nations League that they were really reliant on Tessa Vullart. And when she was on fire and when she could get into her rhythm, she was very, very dangerous, wasn't she? But unfortunately, against teams like Spain, they just weren't able to play their game. And we've seen a lot of that, especially recently in the semi-finals. Teams haven't looked like themselves at all because the quality of the game is so high now that actually it's been really hard to try and predict what's going to happen and how the other team's going to come out. So yeah, Sophie, for you in Group B, so it's like we just said, so we had Spain, Italy, Portugal, Belgium. What did you think of that group? Anyone?
All this extra time I've been sitting through. Yeah, Spain was the obvious, like they were going to go through. And then so difficult to call between the other three. They've all had fairly decent, I think, Nations League campaigns. We've seen what they can do. Portugal have drawn with England. Belgium have beaten England. So they're both, like, not bad. Like, none of them are bad teams.
No, absolutely not.
Group B's the one that I saw the least of. I'm not going to lie.
So you're glad I came to you with this question then?
Under the radar,
yeah, I feel like Group B kind of just...
like, they're not.
Yeah, I think because the impression was Spain are winning that one. So I don't know if people kind of turned off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, and again, we will talk about it when Camilla joins us, when Italy really frustrated Spain, and it was that 3-1, and it was a much tighter scoreline. And it was the first time really that Spain had looked threatened, and they looked uncomfortable because Italy were actually bringing the game to them, and they were forcing them out of their rhythm and their positions. And
Italy deserved to get out of the group. Because they looked really good. And they look really together as a team as well. And I think sometimes in tournaments that matters more than just your ability.
Oh, 100%. Because we've seen, like Norway, for example, they've got some incredible players. And yet as a team, it hasn't been cohesive. They can do enough to get out the group, as we've seen. And this has been the last couple of tournaments. They've done kind of enough to muddle through. But when it matters, they just can't. They can't pull out that win. They can't get...
We can get onto this. We'll get onto this when we do the Norway-Italy, but like some of the positional decisions are interesting with Norway.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll hold that thought until...
We'll hold that thought, yes. Well done you. Yes. But yeah, I had Italy as like hopeful dark horses in the back of my mind. Because I was like, this is a team that suddenly look revitalized. And like you said, they look together, they look cohesive, and they look like a team that can really challenge for the first time in a very long time for the Italians. So yeah, so Spain kind of dominated all the way through, got all 9 points, job done. It then went down to, the final day, because we had Italy on 4 points, Belgium on 3, Portugal on 1. And I think we were trying to work it out at the time that if Belgium won, or if however it happened, I think Belgium needed like a 7-goal swing in their favour to not go through. However, for the Italians, it did end positively and they did get enough points to go through. So that finished Spain, Italy, Belgium, and Portugal. Going into Group C then, and we had the first of our debutantes in the tournament, and that was Poland. Now, I have to say, this is where I've made a little list of all the players that really stood out for me through the competition. And I will apologise to Signe Gobsets from Norway, because she was incredible through this tournament. But someone from Poland who really stood out, apart from Eva Pajot, that everyone was talking about, but Olivia Vosch. Did anyone else notice Olivia Vosch in the games? Because I was so incredibly impressed by her playing. And if we always say these tournaments are kind of like the spotlight, aren't they, for players to get moves to bigger clubs or to different leagues. And I genuinely think, because I think Vosch is still playing in Poland, that if the WSL team or even a WSL2 team picked her up, I think she would be incredible. She really reminded me of Noelle Moritz, like that kind of character. Not afraid of a tackle and just really committed to everything that she did. Yeah, for debutantes in the tournament, Emma, what did you know much about Poland before coming into this? Or how do you think they did? Because they finished third, so not bad. Did you have any initial?
I honestly knew nothing really about them because they have so much potential and they could have like made it out of the groups if that wasn't the case. Because I just wasn't expecting it from a debutant, because your debutants tend to kind of stay in the groups. They just needed an extra shift and they've probably done it. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, if the group games were just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
There was a couple more in the tournament. Yeah, because you're absolutely right.
It looked good against Germany.
Yeah.
First game.
Yeah, so I was going to come to that one. So their first game against Germany, I mean, 8-time Euro winners coming out, your first time in the tournament. So, Sophie, what can you remember from that one? What made you say, actually, they put up a good performance there against Germany?
They kept it fairly level for quite a while. It ended up being like a bit of brilliance on the Germany part rather than... It was only 2-0, which when we've seen some of the other scorelines in the tournaments is pretty good, especially against Germany, who are not a bad team at all. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Germany have been probably one of the best teams in the tournament so far, but one of the best.
And that's what we've kind of loved about this tournament, because nothing's been predictable. Everything's gone completely the other way than we'd ever expect. And yeah, Poland really came out. They weren't scared. They weren't frightened, and they went, right, we've got nothing to lose. So let's go for it. And that's what I really loved about them. So yes, they lost, unfortunately, 2-0 to Germany in that first game. Then they lost 3-0 to Sweden, which again, Swedish team, we'll move on to them in a second, but they're having an incredible tournament as well. And then on that final match, it did end 3-2 Denmark. And Poland had gone 2-0 up. And I remember we were doing a live stream for this one, and we thought, Poland are going to do it. They're going to get 3 points. And then out of nowhere, Yanni Thompson gets one back for Denmark. And you're thinking, okay, it's still 2-1. It's all good. And then Van Kauska for Poland gets the third. And you're like, yep, 3-1, sorted. And then Signe Brun in the 83rd minute gets that 3-2. They also had, VAR was going mad in that game as well, wasn't it? And that was the one where I was constantly refreshing the feed and going, but is it a goal? Is it not a goal? Is it who is actually...
Like a lot of that this tournament of is this a goal? Is it not a goal?
Yeah, are we checking? Are we not? Because we spoke about this before we started recording, but I personally feel like the officiating has either been really, really good, and I've been very impressed and really happy, or it's been quite hit and miss. Emma, for you, what do you think about the officiating so far, including VAR and things like that?
I think I agree with you, really, because you get some decent refs and like officials, but then you get some that are calling offsides like 10 minutes later, and then I can't settle until a VAR check has been completed on a goal, because I feel like I can't celebrate it because then I celebrate it and there's a VAR check and it's offside.
That's the heartbreak.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially with VAR this tournament, there's been no consistency, because some of the time they'll check, Alessia Russo's goal was like a toenail, if anything, offside. Yeah, and they checked it, yet there's ones that are like blatantly offside and they're not checking. Do you know what I mean? Have some consistency. If you're going to check the ones that are millimetres offside, then check the ones that are miles.
Yeah, and
Makes no
some
sense.
they went back a couple of phases in play, others they only went back one. And so it was, again, I know obviously they have been trained and this is just us talking as spectators, but yeah, it seemed like there was quite a few large inconsistencies with it. I know I've got a particular moment in my mind, but Sophie, how about you for this tournament? What have you made of it?
Yeah, it's been really, really hit and miss. Like, some of the refs have been pulling up stuff consistently, and others have just been letting everything go and just not getting a grip on the games, and it's just been chaos, some of the games.
It has. No, absolutely. It's got to the point the other night where a lot of it was a Spain game in the quarterfinals, I believe, and it felt like, yes, Spain, Switzerland, that was it. It got to the point where nothing was being checked. And I remember saying again at the end of the live stream, as we've done a live watch along for all of them, I remember thinking, have we actually had a VAR check in this game? Because it feels like some of them, for every goal, every opportunity, every foul in a dangerous area, of course, not just everyone, but it felt like most of them were checked and there was obvious on screen VAR is in progress, this is what's happening. But it felt like in that game, loads of fouls were getting missed, especially the one that led to that second Spain goal. And we'll talk about it now while we're here. But yeah, so Spain won 2-0 against Switzerland, and Switzerland had held them 0-0 all the way to half time. Then Athenia Del Castillo comes on as a super sub for Spain and puts them ahead. Now, you think, fair enough, that goal's been coming for Spain. But then in the build-up to the second, Leah Volti is held very obviously for a good couple of seconds. Her shirt pulled backwards, just pulled off the ball. Claudia Pina robs the ball from her feet then, because she can, and goes on to score. It was a beautiful goal, and that's what we should be talking about. However, why wasn't that pullback checked for a foul in the build-up? And I will never understand why, because it was so blatant. And because we talk about VAR, don't we, as it has to be clear, obvious, yes, the ref might then need to go to the monitor and have a little double check if it's not, but there was nothing. And it's just, it doesn't make sense, does it? That, like we've said, some fouls were getting called for, not that much really, a little trip or a shoulder push or anything like that. But then blatant ones like that were still getting missed. And Sophie, obviously, I know you play as well, not with VAR, but in terms of that, do you think it's better that the ref isn't calling as many things and it's not going to those checks and having those breaks in play, or would you rather that things were checked from a player perspective in an ideal world?
Well, no, to be fair, I think I'll use the Germany-France game where there was so many fouls and the ref just was letting stuff go. And I know it was the early red card, but then it was like she didn't want to give any more cards out. But it was such a feisty game and both teams were taking pieces out of each other. And the ref just did not have the control didn't seem to stamp any authority on it early on and be like, cut this out.
You can't get away with that. Right, I need to have a word. Let's sort this out. We're not having this game. Yeah, great.
So I think if a ref doesn't cut things out early on, then stuff gets worse and people go in harder, and then you get the risk of actual injuries happening.
Because it got to the point in that Germany-France match, people were going to get injured. It got to that point where it was just every couple of seconds there was another foul and another one, and he thought, is something going to happen here? Like, Germany's already down to 10 in this game. Like, is something else going to happen? But yes, we won't get ahead of ourselves, of course. We'll stick to that in the quarterfinals. One team we haven't spoken about yet in a lot of detail was Sweden, who actually topped their group and took all 9 points. Going into this, we knew what Sweden could do. Obviously, the iconic Lena Hurtig penalty to knock the USA out of the World Cup. But to get all 9 points and to win, of course, against Germany for not just a 2-1 last-minute winner, but a proper 4-1. Emma, how did you feel about Sweden coming into this? Were you a bit surprised? Or were you expecting a high level of football?
I wasn't expecting them to win, obviously, but I was expecting them to definitely give it their all and come out all guns blazing, which I think they did, to be fair. They gave it everything. They left their hearts on the pitch. So yeah, I already knew, because a lot of the Swedish players play in the USL.
Quite a few. Yeah, quite a few do.
we know of a lot of them, so we know just how good they are and just what they can do. And obviously just putting them into the team environment, it's only going to get better, really. So I already knew that there was going to be a high level of football coming. The beating Germany, I just get very shocked whenever anyone beats Germany, to be fair. Yeah, Germany are becoming Spain are becoming the Germany of like what Germany were a few years ago. They're becoming that kind of unbeatable. So I need to stop getting shocked when everyone beats Germany. But yeah, those results always
That
shock
mentality, don't we? And a lot of it, we see it in the WSL. As soon as you, especially as Villa fans, as we are, you know, as soon as you say, "Oh, we've got Chelsea coming up," automatically you go, "Oh, we're probably not going to win, are we?" So it must be the same international level as well. You know what Spain can do, you know what Germany can do. So to have that moment of, can we? But in a group stage, you need to just kind of forget all that, don't you? And just go out, like you said, all guns blazing.
Just also chronically underrated as well.
I mean, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're actually such a good team. And I think if they hadn't have been faced in England, I think they should have got through. But being English, I'd quite like England to go through.
Yeah, no, I've been torn all this tournament, to be honest, because there are some matches, and again, we're going to talk about England, but that England probably didn't deserve to win. And I'm sitting here, I'm at England top, and I'm very proud that we're through to the final. But yeah, there's been a couple of questionable performances that you think, should we have got to this final? But yeah, when you think about that Sweden game, how they dominated, and can we just mention Stina Blackstenius? Because in the WSL, I
She's remembered the offside rule.
Exactly. In the Swedish setup, she's playing her best football. And we've seen it. Obviously, she got the Champions League winner, didn't she? And we've seen glimpses of that in WSL. But this Stina is like on another level. So is it nice? Sounds a bit rubbish, actually. But yeah, how does it feel to see those players where you think, all right, in the WSL, they're a bit hit and miss. They're more good than not. But to see them perform at that extra level, Emma, what's that like for you? Have you been impressed by Stina?
yeah, but it's also scary because then we realise that she's got to come back to club, and we've then also got to play Arsenal at some point twice this season.
Yes, how dare she be on good
So
form?
it's a little bit scary.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You want these players to do well until they get to your team. Then they can have a stinker. Then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, Sophie, anything else about Sweden that's impressed you this tournament that we haven't mentioned?
I don't think so. I think Stina is Stina. Lena Hurtig. Actually, yeah, Lena Hurtig. Because she's not really played much for Arsenal ever at all. I don't know if Arsenal just wasn't the right fit for her, or
Well, did we see what she said to the Swedish media?
was it that she'd taken a step back for her mental health because she was
Yes.
struggling after the World Cup?
The World Cup, yeah. The attention after that penalty at the World Cup was something that I shouldn't expect.
Yeah, I can imagine some of the abuse from the US fans.
Yeah. And I think she even said something along the lines of, you know, it made me question whether I wanted to keep playing football.
Yeah.
Now, that would be a complete travesty if she didn't. So I'm so happy that she's left Arsenal now, of course, and is signed for Fiorentina in Serie A. And again, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but she was at Juventus before she came to Arsenal and was playing some incredible football there. So I think the Italian league, because it is a bit removed as well, but still with some very good teams, I think that might be a much better fit for her.
I think some of the footballers just don't enjoy the limelight.
No. Especially if you've got such a reserved personality as well.
And I think with the way the women's game's grown and how fast it's grown, it's a bit of a shock to the system for a lot of the players. A lot of them have gone from being nobody to being recognised walking down the street.
Yeah. And if anyone's on Snapchat with Kate McCabe and Caitlin Ford, and they're hounded constantly by questions of what are you doing, where you going, and to have that level of almost the fans they're right there. It's not just suddenly all the other end of social media or they're just in the stands. It's suddenly you then can't escape, which if you embrace it like certain players have, like Kate McCabe, some players, you're right, really like, no, this isn't this. I just want to play football. I don't want this side of it. Thank you. So yeah, it's got to be hard, the growth that women's football's had, to suddenly think, actually, do I want this part of it? Or do I just want to play for my own enjoyment rather than anything else? But overall, Sweden, I mean, Johanna Rytting-Kaneryd, her runs down the wings were incredible, and I'm genuinely scared to face Chelsea.
I think Rachel Daly in one of her things that she was doing, said that Johanna Rytting-Kaneryd in the last Euros was one of the reasons she decided she never wanted to play left back again.
Yeah, I remember hearing
And
that.
you can understand it. The pace on that is insane. And you almost wish you had another Rytting-Kaneryd in the box to be on the end of her crosses, because she was just, she was on fire through that tournament. So yeah, so Group C overall, very, very impressive. However, it was Sweden and Germany who...
We got the first red card of the tournament. First red?
Well, there was a red, wasn't there, in the... Let's have a look.
They played most of the Sweden game.
They did. And then they did it again against France. So yeah, so Vom's...
Beautiful save. It's just a shame she's not a goalkeeper. She just tipped it round the post.
Just tipped it. She was right there. Goal line clearance. Unfortunately, it was with her hand.
And then VAR got involved. That would have been, I will say, her reaction. She knew that she had messed up. Like, she slapped the pitch. She was crying. But then VAR were checking it because there was possibility that it was offside in the build-up. And could you imagine having this absolute like emotional meltdown on the pitch because you've got a red card, for it to then be rescinded because of the offside and you be allowed back on the pitch? I don't think
You wouldn't be able to court, would you?
I don't think my brain could have, I don't think you'd have been able to get back in the game in the same...
I feel like you'd have switched off at that point to then have to then come back on the pitch. I'd take myself back down the tunnel. I'm sorry. I'd have to just be like...
Sorry, guys. I'm going to take the red card anyway. I'm off. I'm done now. I'm done. But yeah, but even just being in that limbo moment of, am I on? Am I off? Am I, so mentally that must have been incredibly hard to kind of stay in the moment while the check was going on, to then ultimately go, actually, off you pop.
I am still off. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I will begin, my breathing exercises to come
Imagine
back.
if you'd walked off and walked down the tunnel and the VAR was like, oh no, that wasn't a red card.
You're like, oh, come back. Hang on. I know, you'd be...
very different walk of shame.
Yeah. A very different one indeed. But yes, so to recap Group C then, Sweden and Germany just outclassed Poland and Denmark. So Sweden had 9 points, Germany had 6. Poland on 3. They won their first ever game, scored their first ever goals at a tournament. So regardless, they should be incredibly proud of how they performed. And Denmark, again, some huge names in that Denmark side, unfortunately also couldn't really pull a performance together and did finish bottom of Group C with 0 points.
I just don't think they could get going. I know a lot of teams grow into the tournament, and I just don't think they could. They just couldn't get their foot on the gas.
You're right. And I think when Pernilla Harder had that injury in that third match, and you thought, she's been forced off, this wouldn't be how she wanted her tournament to end. And, is this the end of Denmark's tournament? And unfortunately it was. So some teams have been so plagued by injury during this tournament already. Like Julia Gwynn as well for Germany. She went off in the first match.
Germany have injuries.
I don't know how. Eula Brand was another one of my standout performers, this tournament. How she was still running after the end of 2 lots of extra time, I do not know. The pace. What's really stood out, because I've said this a few times now, the pace of some players at this tournament has been incredible. And I love it. Love tournament football. Right then, let's get on to Group D, final group. The group of death, D for death. And of course, the Lionesses were in this group with France, the Netherlands, and fellow debutantes, Wales. And we do just have to do a massive shout out for the Welsh support, because that red wall was incredible.
It was so good.
And the way, they were passionately singing their national anthem, and you just felt goosebumps, didn't you, watching them walk out on that pitch.
The national anthem is so good. Ours is terrible.
Yeah. Well, lots of people are saying, the Lionesses need their own national anthem. But yeah, the passion they have for it is incredible. And Sophie, we were talking off air about Jess Fishlock, weren't we?
What a player.
What a player. So can you kind of sum up what it would mean for her, but for Wales as well, the fact that Jess Fishlock was leading the team into their first ever Euros?
She's just an icon, isn't she? The fact that she's still playing the way she's playing. She's 38? I want to be nice here. I feel like,
And so let's fact check that, shall we?
Let's fact check Jess Fishlock. But she's
Yes,
playing
of
over in the US.
38. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
And I think she's played pretty much like so many games for Wales. She's their like leading appearance holder. But yeah, and she is the figurehead of that Welsh team. And for her to get the first goal, I mean,
Yes.
they've been trying so hard
It was
to
written in the stars. That.
qualify for so long, and for some of the players, you were like, it's kind of do or die this tournament.
And that's what's been interesting to watch, because so many teams have got either, these legendary players who are in that the last couple of years, really, you'd imagine. Not Jess Fishlock, of course. Her and Lucy Bronze are going to be playing until like 90. But if the majority of players, they get to about 34, 35, and you think, is this the last dance? Is this the last goal? So you're right. They've come close so many times, haven't they? And I don't know if anyone watched the Welsh documentary, like the Road to the Euros one. I was getting emotional for them. So that when they finally qualified, of course, it was between them and Scotland, wasn't it? So it was a huge thing. And for Wales to do it, I was so over the moon for them.
Do you see Jess Fishlock's dad talking about her as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He is so proud of Jess and what she's done for Wales. I'm so glad they filmed that, because that was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Now, Emma, for you, Wales weren't expected to get out of the group. But were you impressed with their overall performance?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I went out to watch the England-Netherlands game, I think it was, and then came home to watch the France-Wales. And at one point they were drawing with France. And I became a Welsh fan for 90 minutes. I was like, can we please just get a point on the board? Like, I really wanted them to, I was rooting for them, for England and Wales to get through, like, the whole time. Yeah. Like, I knew that it was, like, virtually impossible, but I was like, England and Wales, because could you imagine the absolute upset between France and Netherlands if Wales made it through the group? Like, could you imagine the scene?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone was like, can you imagine? Because my friend Sean, who does a lot of writing for the Welsh FA, and he had press access for the tournament for Wales, and he was saying, you know what, I truly believe, without any bias, with the spirit of this team, I genuinely think we won't be last in the group. And he just wanted to see points on the board. He just wanted them to go out and give their all. And they absolutely did. And as much as, yes, they didn't unfortunately manage to get any points, they still scored goals, which a lot of the teams were struggling to do. And that game against France, like you said, when they equalised, Clara Mateo had put France in front in the 8th minute. So automatically you think, here we go. He's the start of it. What's the Avalanche going to be like? But then Jess Fishlock gets the equaliser in the 13th minute, and suddenly Wales have got this opportunity.
Because VAR were like, let's look at this. This is absolutely
VAR turned up. Yeah. And you just say, just let them have it. Like, just let them. But no, VAR did its job, did it well, and gave the goal as they rightly should. But after that, France had a bit of a wobble, didn't they? It wasn't as easy as they might have thought.
Made a lot of changes expecting it to be
an easier game. 100%. Like every single game Wales played, saying this at the time as well, they never looked out of it. They never looked defeated. They never looked like they were the underdog of it and that they had no chance. I genuinely believed every time they went out there, something was going to happen, because they just had that magic about them, didn't they? About, the bond of a team. They're something else, aren't they? That Welsh side. But yeah, I mean, France, looking at that lineup, they had Ndongala start in defence, and usually she was coming on as a sub. Samora, Sombath, Majri started, Malar started. So yeah, so they really, really changed it. As you said, thinking it was going to be an easier game, but Jess Fishlock had something else to say about that one. But yeah, no, they really, really impressed. So they should be proud of themselves. So just to recap Group D, France went through on 9 points, England on 6, Netherlands on 3, Wales on 0. Now, before we move on, England. England came out on match day 1 and we thought, we've got France first. We need to start quickly on the front foot. This is what we need to do. And it just didn't happen, did it?
We came first 20 minutes or so against France really well. And then there was that offside call that I still haven't seen an angle where it makes sense.
Is that the Beth Mead one? Yeah, where the line, it wasn't great. Yeah, so it came down to, I think it was the hip. And it was the hip that the line was coming from. But because of the way they positioned the players, you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think the communication on that one
But I
wasn't.
feel like VAR, there's got to be a margin of error in it.
I think
But not
there is. I think I've seen errors in the Premier League. There's been errors where the lines haven't actually been straight and they've been diagonal.
I think, at this level as well, with everyone that's trained to do it and, for it's been checked for whatever reason, just make, again, clear and obvious.
I mean, I think there was a thing with Wimbledon where the Hawkeye was...
Oh, I remember seeing that.
So, like, the technology's not infallible. And so I feel like there must be... I don't know.
Sorry, just try and get me like a bit quieter, but
I suppose it is
That's
where
better.
do you draw that line? And where do you draw the cut-off? And,
literally where do you draw the line? Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's literally teams' future on the line, isn't it? Whether they go through in a tournament or not. So yeah, so that was an interesting one. But the fact that we had lots,
we had a lot of players.
yes,
There was a lot of thing into French
Yeah,
players and just not sending the ball to a teammate.
yeah, there was so many wayward passes, and you just think, are they going to snap out of it? Like, to not be cliche, but this is England. They are the current holders of the
Half of them look like
championship,
they've never played with each other before.
Yeah, and considering that's the starting lineup that's been for a century, they should be very, very used to each other. Because there was France came through, they went 2-0 up within 3 minutes of each other. So Marie-Antoinette Katoto in the 36th minute and Sandy Baltimore in the 39th. So we were all saying, weren't we? Get it to halftime, just have a team talk. Serena needs to come in and just really
That Kira Walsh goal
at that point.
It had a very final
But we need to talk about
about it.
Yeah, the 87th minute, Kira Walsh comes in as saviour to show that we can indeed do something. Now, we're joined by another lovely face. Here she is.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening. Sophie, Emma, Camilla, lovely to have you after your long day. Thanks for making time for us. No, it's all right. How are you doing? All right.
A bit tired, but fine. Thank you.
But luckily for you, we're going to talk about all of the football, so it's all good. So yeah, we were just saying, Camilla, about the Kira Walsh getting England back into the game against France because it was dire, that opening game. And Sophie, for you, do you think losing that first game actually gave them a bit more fight when it came to our next game?
You're right, because you're there now where you're like, we actually have to win this.
Yeah, there is no error room in this. We have to win. Because, of course, match day 2 for England was against the Netherlands. Luckily, the Netherlands had a bit of a stinker this tournament, and England did win 4-0, thankfully. Because we were saying as well, this could come down to goal difference. So we need to score goals because this ultimately could be the end of that tournament. So, yeah, so came out against Netherlands, 4-0, lovely. And then, of course, it all came down to England versus Wales. And Emma, for you were saying, want England and Wales to get through, but we knew ultimately it was going to come down to this, where the two home nations versus each other. Did you think Wales had an opportunity to get something from this, the way England were playing?
We came out on the front foot, and to be fair, Wales didn't bow their heads at us either. They did come out and still wanted to fight, but then we were like 4-0 up at half time. So I was like, well, I don't think the likelihood of them coming back from this now is slim. It was their first time in the tournament. They were there for the experience as well. Yes, they were ultimately there to win, but they were there for. They enjoyed themselves. The fans did and the players. So ultimately, it was a good end in all situations because they had the time of their life. Even I saw, it really angered me because when Hannah Kane scored, it was 5-1, I think it was. Everyone was like, why is she celebrating that goal? I was like, they've never been to this tournament before. That's their second goal in the tournament.
Wouldn't you celebrate? I don't understand when people say that. It's like, you've scored for your country. The first ever time your country's been at a tournament. Of course you're going to celebrate and think it's incredible. And it was the fact that Hannah Kane could get one back and, disrupted that clean sheet. And we were talking about goal difference and, it gave them a boost at the end of that, didn't it? And
I got a bit worried then, to be fair, because I was like, can they then score again and again and again? And can that buffer our goal difference? But they didn't, luckily.
Yeah, because we've seen England completely capitulate and collapse and have a bit of a wobble when teams have scored against them. So, just hats off to Wales for their tournament. And I do have to say, Rhiann Wilkinson is an incredible role model and manager for that side. The fact that she went up and shook all of the hands in the stadium of the fans was phenomenal. And you just, when she was talking to the press afterwards, she was like, I'm so proud of the girls for what they've done, because we're not fit enough for this tournament. We've never been in this situation before, but this just shows the Welsh FA have got to keep putting money in and keep changing for the future, because if they don't, this can't be our pinnacle. This can't be the end of it. So yeah, I love how much she loves the team and loves being a part of it. So England had a bit of a bumpy road in the group stage. And Camilla, perfect time to start talking about Italy, because we're just about to go on to the quarters. But before we go on to the quarterfinals, how do you think Italy did in the group stages?
I was worried that you were going to ask me about England, because I'm not sure I'm not ready. I'm still processing my feeling about it. No, about the group stage, absolutely. Honestly, I said before the starting of the Euros that I was expecting the semi-final as the minimum goal, because it was actually achievable, considering the group that we were in and the possible crossing with group A, so honestly I thought that we could actually beat most of those teams aside from Spain, which in fact we didn't. But and I was hoping that, and I really it's really important for me to say this, I was really hoping that we could get to the semifinal, because of what it could meant in Italy for the media to start to talk about it again. But at the same time, it makes me mad, because you don't have to wait for a success to start to talk about women football. It's not a prize to talk about them. I am aware of the world that we live in, and I am aware of how it works, especially in Italy, where even now, even with this result, we are still hearing a lot of prejudice around women football, and a lot of the reason why we still don't have the attention that we actually should have at this point. I was hoping that one good tournament from the national team could at least take us to the point where we were after the World Cup of 2019, which with COVID and everything else, at some point we did step backwards after the tournament. So I was hoping that we could restart from there, not in terms of course, the quality and the level that we have, because we have come way more far from that, but with the media, with the media attention, with the general attention of Italian people around women football. So I hope that they found out that we never stopped, actually, during these 6 years. We were always here, they were always here. So I hope that at least someone woke up after all these spots that we had.
Yeah, and it's been a fight, hasn't it, to get the coverage you deserve and to get people talking about it. And what I've noticed, again, from and just kind of following it more closely, it seems like with Sonshin coming in to manage the team, it feels like he's completely revolutionized how they feel about each other as a team, and that communication. And have you seen that difference?
Well, so much, yeah. The girls always say during the interviews that they felt how humble he was when he approached the job in the beginning. Actually, it shows. You can tell from anything that he did. Honestly, I was the first one being skeptical at first, because it felt, I don't want it to sound as an insult, but it felt like it was just a random call, just this person that was maybe better than someone else just because he had coached like the youth section of Venezia for a couple of years. There are a lot of coaches either male or female, because I don't really care about that, honestly. I care about the quality and the experience and the skills that someone can bring to a job. I don't care if it's men or women, but there is, of course, also a problem in terms of accessibility for women to get there. That's another story. I didn't necessarily wanted a woman as a coach, but the fact that when he was called to be the manager, someone said, no, not actually just someone, a lot of people say, oh, finally, a man coach, someone that comes from men football. Now that's going to be what we need. Okay, honestly, I hated all of that. So I was the first one being skeptical because of that. But at the same time, he didn't have anything to do with that. Of course, it wasn't his fault. Considering that you take position against all this that stupid stuff that people say, then you really start to look at what he does. And we actually felt from day one that the girls felt his trust and gave him their trust back. So it was the way that he approached everything. You could see during these 2 years, you could see him at games of Serie A basically every week, and almost every week he attended at least a couple, not just one. He was everywhere. You could spot him literally on every Serie A pitch.
Oh,
That was amazing from him, honestly. And I don't know if you guys can get this in English because of the language, but you know that Italian has a lot of gender in language as well, you know? The way you do. He speaks, and sorry, Freya probably knows this. The general habit around this is that when there is a group of mixed gender and you have to use one word to refer to that group, you automatically use the male gender for the group because that's the standard. He is not the first one doing this. A lot of men coaches in Serie A also do it, but of course, as being the coach of national team, it's, you know, it resonates more when someone like him does it. He speaks like in first plural person using the female gender. So he includes himself in that. And that's something that's really amazing in the Italian language. And you never hear that. You basically never hear that aside from women's sport. And that's something that it really, I think, I don't know what else do I need to add about him. So the player.
No, that's enough. Yeah. And it shows that he is breaking those boundaries, isn't he? And he's really pushing forward to because I think I was trying to translate one of his interviews because the captions weren't great. And then I was like, I think I know that word. And he was saying something about, you know, women's football, more people need to pay attention because it's not just, you know, a poorer version of the men's game. It's got its own need to pay attention. To still have a man at the end of the day saying that when so many men have so against women's football, and we see it on social media all the time. But yeah, to have him as head of the national team, taking them forward and being another voice for these women is incredible. So yeah, already from a distance, he's made such a good impression. And speaking of which, let's talk about the quarterfinals because we need to talk about another Italian legend. Because the first quarterfinal was Norway versus Italy.
This one.
I was going to say, are you ready to share who this is about? Of course.
Yeah.
Because coming through, so Norway through the group stages, they just done enough. They weren't great, they weren't performing their best, but there was potential that they could manage another win. But the form Italy were on, it looked the likely of the two that they could possibly get it. But we just need to talk about Cristiano Girelli, don't we? So yeah, Camilla, take it away. Norway versus Italy. What did you make of that match and Girelli's part?
Well, first of all, you could see the difference from the group stage and the quarterfinals, not just because they started to believe in themselves more. I think Boattin said it. There was a player who actually said it out loud, but it was also my feeling that they were feeling so much pressure to go through the group stage that it was actually affecting their performance in those games. And then after it was gone, when they started quarterfinals, they finally started to feel free on the pitch. So that was the main difference. And you could actually tell if you look at the group stage games and if you look at the game with Norway, you could actually tell that was something lighter on that pitch. And Christiana scoring a brace in that historical game was just perfect because of also what she represents. She basically is the most iconic player of a generation that has done so much and is about to pass the legacy to the next generation, but also for her as a person, as a player, like individually, it meant so much because of probably I don't want to say that she's the one that was affected the most from the past tournaments, but because I don't, everyone of course feels in his own way, but she was on the bench after playing an amazing tournament in 2019 World Cup in the last game with the Netherlands when she didn't play 1 minute of that game, and we could see her crying on the bench at the end of the game. Then there was England 2022, which we all know how we went for Italy, and then there was the World Cup, which we all know how we went for Italy. For some reason, she was probably because she just shows her emotions. I don't know why, but you could actually sum up all the feeling that we were feeling, all the disappointment seeing her like that, because she's so talented, and in the past two tournaments she barely played. So she, in the past 3 years, started a personal path of with a nutritionist, with a personal trainer, aside from the work that she does at Juventus. So she put so much effort to, it's not just random. She actually achieved these results in this tournament with working so hard every day. You can tell she's my favorite player, probably from the way I speak about her, but she's for a reason, honestly. So yeah.
And like you said, her not playing at the last couple of tournaments, that seems like a travesty, doesn't it? For her not to be involved in these things. But yeah, I think when she scored that second goal in the 90th minute in that final moment, because for so long, when Arda Hegerberg did score and it was 1-1, and you thought, Italy have got it in them. Like I had that belief, and I think a lot of other people did too, that they could do it. So for Girelli to get it in the final moment, and it was just the reaction as well that I think everyone fell in love with, especially the Sunshin shuffle, as it's now been known, where it was like, am I going to get another yellow for this as he's running over? And just, that reaction from all of them, just piling on top, and all the fans going mad. And were you impressed with how many people were turning up to support Italy in this tournament? Because the numbers were incredible, weren't they?
Yeah, especially in the past two games, not that many in the group stage. From what I heard, in the group stage, there were more Italians in Switzerland, already in Switzerland, like living in Switzerland, than people actually traveling. There were, of course, people traveling, but it became way bigger after the group stage. There was actually something that we already knew from France 2019. There were buses coming from Italy.
Yeah, saw the posters,
Yeah.
all that being arranged. That was incredible. And just to see the support growing as well. Obviously, where it was held quite close, relatively, for people to travel and to get there, but it's people making the decision to go. Not about that distance, isn't it? But yeah, it was just what an incredible way through, because then people looking at the branches, they then knew that Italy were going to face either Sweden or England in that semi-final. So we won't go into the semis yet. Don't worry, Camilla, you still got time.
I will leave you by then.
Before we get to it, because England have, we talked about it in the group stage. They had such a roller coaster coming through. We thought, right, we've got another chance against Sweden. This is our shot. This is what we can do. Emma, the first half against Sweden we've touched on it briefly when we're talking about the group stages. That was awful, wasn't it? The first half.
Yeah. I missed the first 20 minutes, thankfully.
I mean, thankfully, yeah.
Because I got home when it was 1-0 and I was like, like I was obviously disappointed. But then I was like, okay, it's only 1-0. And then I sat down and it was 2-0 and I was like, no. And then Switzerland were just on the front foot for the... Not Switzerland. Sweden.
The one.
Too many S's.
Too many
Right.
Yeah.
And they were just on the front foot. And I was like, okay, sure. And I remember saying to my dad, I went, it's all right if Stina Blackstenius gets the ball, she'll be offside anyway. And I regret saying that because then she got the ball and I was like, she's onside. No, why did I say that? And then
And she was through and she was gone.
I was not okay. I was like, why did I open my mouth?
Emma's fault. You jinxed us, right?
And then half time came and I was like, okay, maybe a change. No, that's too optimistic. But I was like, okay, maybe nothing. And then we kind of, I'd say, I really want to say that we like kicked it into gear, but I don't think we did until about 70 minutes.
Well,
And
we
then-
did the very English thing, didn't we? Of getting to about 80 minutes and going, yeah, we need to win this. Hang on. And then suddenly kick into gear. Because, of course, Lucy Bronze, 79th minute. So we said about 80 minutes with that header, and you thought, can we do it? Is it possible? And that was the start of our journey, because we then had 2 goals in 2 minutes because Michelle Adjumang, who we need to give the biggest round of applause to, because what a talent she is. We've been talking about her for years on the podcast, but yeah, finally she's had more of the spotlight and more people are seeing what she can do. Sophie, when Adjumang scored to bring it level to 2-2, what was your initial reaction there?
I was like, what is going on? How have we done this? Like,
Yeah, literally, how have
How?
we done this?
and also this is a player who coming into the Euros was like, oh, she's really young, like it'll probably be good for her to get some experience. Like, she's probably not going to play that many minutes because most, in England at least, a lot of them like 18, 19, 20-year-olds don't really get that much minutes on the pitch. And then Serena seems to have gone, you can do it. We're just going to throw you on and let you cause chaos.
Yeah, at 19 though, and just to take more at 19 to be able to
And
do
she's just
that.
so calm and mature. Like,
Yeah, and the way when she's interviewed, the way she holds herself and the way she speaks, and you just think she's such an incredible talent and character to be able to come into the side and not be scared, not look out of place, and look so strong in her position that hopefully it's not long before she is fighting for those starting places. Because then, of course, it's 2-2. And it goes to extra time, and it's still 2-2. So we go to penalties. And Camilla, we were saying earlier before you joined us, probably the worst penalties we've ever seen in a tournament.
In the history of football, from what I can recall, honestly, not just in a tournament.
Honestly, awful. Because you'd think, the World Cup for England, Mary Earps, that still sticks in your mind when she saved Jenny Hermoso's penalty, and you're like, right, we're in. That's the story of a good goalkeeper. And we've got very good goalkeepers in this tournament. And it just seems to be with the penalty taker themselves where it hasn't been great. Because as we saw in the Norway-Italy game as well, Arda Hegerberg missed. So she's missed 2 penalties this tournament. And I was saying this on another podcast, but as much as, she was the captain, she was leading the team out, she wanted to redeem herself for that initial missed penalty. When it is so crucial and it is knockout football, you would hope someone just went, I know you mean well. Can we get someone else to take it? Just in case. Because they're clearly cursed at this tournament.
Something like 15
What was that, sorry?
Isn't it only like 15 out of 30 that have actually been scored?
Yeah, it's something horrendous like that. Yeah. Because looking at the penalty shootout for England-Sweden, so Alessia Russo steps up, shoots, lovely, 1-0. Angeldal then misses. Lauren James misses. Ziggy Otiolma scores. Beth Mead misses. Magdalena Eriksson misses. Alex Greenwood misses. Natalie Bjorn 2-1. And I thinking, no, is this what's going to happen? Luckily, Chloe Kelly 2-2. And you think, right. Jennifer Falk, of course, the Swedish goalkeeper. Now, and we'll talk about this as well. She was the 5th crucial penalty taker of the team. And you think, that takes some guts for the goalkeeper to stand up and take that 5th penalty. Just a quick one. Do we think the goalkeeper should be that high up in the ranking for penalties?
I suppose it depends what penalty takers you've got on your squad. Like, if your goalkeeper's one of your better penalty takers, then yeah, fair enough.
Didn't Hannah Hampton
The Sweden
one for Villa to put us through?
Well, she started as a striker, didn't she? So you can kind of understand that one. But also substitutes, it's who you've got on the pitch, isn't it, at that time? Because I think Sweden, because they thought they were going to win, they'd taken off Rolfer, they'd taken off some of Blackstenius, they'd taken off all of their Aslani had gone off, for Lena Herzig came on for Aslani. And you just think some managerial decisions there weren't great. But then, of course, so Jennifer Folk misses, Grace Clinton misses, Sophia Jakobsen misses, and then Lucy Bronze steps up. And the power behind her shot was insane. And the passion as well, because normally we get a bit of emotion from Lucy Bronze, don't we? But we've spoken about, Girelli shows her emotions. And for some players who, they show a bit, but they try and keep a straight face. But for Lucy Bronze to show that passion and that yell when she got it in the back of the net, you just thought, that's what we need. That's what we want in this England team. And then Smila Homburg, I feel so sorry for her. The 18-year-old was next in that lineup. And you just think, was there no one else?
I'll let you finish.
No, I was just going to say, if she was one of the penalty takers, make her go earlier. But putting her in that position where it will always be, this is the goal that didn't, this is the penalty that didn't score. I thought that was harsh. So not to, say anything against her because it was not her fault at all. But yeah, you would think about the order. But Sophie, you going to say about
certain that Michelle Ackerman got asked something about that, and she went, "Well, I was up next for England."
Yeah, she was after Lucy, wasn't she? Yeah. But they actually said as well, did we see this in the media, that the Swedish manager hadn't actually planned?
Quite a few of them didn't plan for penalties this tournament. The managers have come out and said, we didn't practice penalties.
No. And so they didn't have an order and he didn't have any idea.
Just improvised,
so literally. Who wants to take one? Put your hand up. It's, you'd think when you get to that point that they would kind of have an idea, just even in the back of their brains, just of what's going to happen. But no, they didn't. They didn't, unfortunately. And that was the one that sent England through, even though, and let's just count them, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. They had 14 attempts. England won 3-2 on penalty the whole team.
Amazing.
I just thought that's England's tournament summed up in a nutshell. All of the opportunities and can only convert a fraction of them. So let's go on to our third quarterfinal then. This was Spain versus Switzerland. And I don't know about anyone else, but I was rooting for Switzerland.
I was rooting for Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you just think home tournament, they're the hosts. The crowds have been incredible. And Switzerland were actually playing really, really well. Did anyone... I have some thoughts on this match, but did anyone else watch it, have any thoughts about this one?
A sucker for an underdog story anyway, so always want a David Goliath sort of type situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting game. I think Switzerland did really, really well. They held off for a long time. They defended so well.
Just got the stats up. Spain had 23 shots, only 6 were on target. So Spain, again, they'd rotated quite heavily as well, hadn't they, in this game? Again, thinking it was going to be quite an easy one. But yeah, Switzerland only had 4 shots in the entire match. And that still says to me, we're not just rolling over. We're not parking the bus. Like, we're going for this if we've got the chance. So went into halftime at 0-0. And I think a lot of people, including me, were kind of like, can they do it? Because they've held off this far. But as we mentioned earlier, Atenea del Castillo comes on 66th minute, injects some energy into the game and is able to score, followed by Claudia Pina soon after in the 75th. Now, we've already had a discussion on VAR and the officials. Camilla, for you, how has the officiating been VAR from your viewpoint? Because we said it was very hit and miss.
Are you really asking me that question, considering how the semi-final ended?
Well, apparently we're not talking about that semi-final.
Yeah, but still. You want to talk about the VAR up to the quarterfinals?
If that would be easier, yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm still not over it. I probably never will be. But yeah, in general, leaving that game out of the discussion, I think, of course, it was something that we were asking for so many time now to have VAR in the women game. And of course, I don't want us to go back, but I think that it can be applied the same thing that we usually say around the referees, that we need quality referees and quality people at the VAR. So that's, I think, the main issue. Honestly, I don't know how it works on international level. Probably it's a bit better, but domestically, like in Italy, the Serie A is compared to, I think, the third or fourth tier of the men game. So you have that quality of referees in the Serie A, and it's just something that it's unacceptable.
Yeah, and it brings down the quality of the game, doesn't it? Because some games are lost on decisions, poor decisions that are being made. And yeah, we talked briefly about the Claudia Pina's goal, the foul in the build-up where Leah Volti was held quite obviously. And that wasn't even checked. It wasn't even looked over. Not obviously anyway. It might have been checked behind the scenes, but there was no obvious, right, we're going to stop and check, because actually that was a foul leading up to it. So not that it would have changed the game because Switzerland didn't score, but you just think on principle, if you're going to check lots of things, then keep checking lots of things and do it properly rather than being so hit and miss.
Goal, though, as much as like maybe VAR should have intervened, Switzerland just stopped dead.
Well, that's another question, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
There's always the play to the whistle.
But there's that argument of you play to the whistle, don't you? Yeah. So it's a hard situation because it should have been a foul, but they also should have kept playing and actually took Pina down before she could get a shot off. So yeah, it was a bit of a tough one, but just fair VAR. That's all we want. Fair and equal across the board. The last thing we do want to talk about in that game, though, as the majority of Villa fans on this podcast, Noelle Moritz, a wonderful Noelle Moritz, who we love because she is not afraid to put a tackle in. She gets a straight red card in the 92nd minute of the game because she was the last person between Salma Paralluelo and the goal, and she goes in for it and takes the ball from her feet and takes Paralluelo with her as well. Sophie, any questions about
I love Noelle so much. Like, but
we love
she is definitely a bit of a liability with the card. She is quite easy to work up, I think.
Yeah, she's also not afraid to take one for the team, is she, when it comes to cards? She's a great team member.
She's all into it. And sometimes I think she's maybe a little bit too passionate.
Maybe sometimes, but you just thought it's the last minute of the game. I know it's to do with the laws and the rules, and it was right to give her a red, but the game was ending anyway. I think it ended like 30 seconds later. She was still walking off the pitch when the final whistle went. So there was nothing.
There was some great reactions.
Oh, fantastic reactions to it. Everyone surrounding the ref, doing their best. What? Impression, which is incredible. I do have to say, though, I haven't mentioned it yet. The player that really stood out for me from Switzerland, I say that, I had about 4. Geraldine Reuteler, who currently plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, was incredible during this tournament. Iman Benet, who's just signed for Manchester City, very jealous that they've got Benet. Also, Elia Pilgrim as well. Now at Chelsea, of course. But yeah, Elia Pilgrim, she was an incredible super sub. And of course, Sydney Schertenlieb as well, who is at Barcelona. But yeah, the when you think of Switzerland, you don't think of it as one of the top footballing nations. And they've said for ages, it's been funding issues and, the grassroots structure isn't there. But hopefully after this tournament, people have seen what the women's team can do and they're putting that funding in and making it better for more. If Reuteler came to the WSL, I think I'd love to see him in the WSL just as a blanket coverage. I think she would fit in at Liverpool. I do. I think that will work quite well. So if Reuteler's agent is listening at Liverpool, would be a very good shout. Before we go on to the final game, just while we're on people that have impressed, are there any players from any of you that either you weren't really familiar with or that you hadn't seen before that you thought they're quite good, actually? Did anyone stand out for any of you three?
No, actually, you already mentioned was Benet.
Benet,
for me.
yeah, incredible.
Aside from Wally, of course, which is my beloved Wally.
I was going to say the true fans already know her. Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but I had to mention it. Otherwise,
of course. I mean, captaining her team.
yeah,
Such an incredible job this tournament as well with all the other stuff she's been doing, and
yeah.
Sophie, was it you that sent me the TikTok about she was sending everyone gift baskets?
Possibly, yeah. She sent all the team's gift baskets at the start of the tournament. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So lovely. But yeah, Sophie, anyone for you? Any other players?
I will say I was impressed with Girelli from Italy. There's quite a few of the Italian players were pretty good. Italy's not really going into this tournament a nation I knew much about in terms of their football. Really got very far previously, I don't think, in the last few tournaments. So they were kind of out of the radar. We've not really seen them much in the Nations League either, but they really impressed. I'm sad they had to face England.
I know, honestly. Because we said, Camilla, didn't we, that, would love it if Italy versus England, that would be such an incredible game. Then it got to it and it was like,
no, not really.
We've got to have a winner and a loser. I don't like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Both go through. That'd be great. Spain don't need it. Spain don't need another one. Just have an England-Italy final. But yeah, Emma, anyone for you that we haven't already mentioned?
So many, like Girelli, Olivia Peng as well. But there's just been so many that I didn't know a lot. It came to doing fantasy football and I was like, what do I do? Because I don't know very many players outside of the WSL and Championship. But that is it. But for different nations, it's the WSL and the Championship. And I was like, where am I going with this? But there's so many now that I'm just blown away by, because the amount of talent that's just come into this tournament is
That's why we love tournament football, because you get to see other nations, you get to see different players, you get to see different styles. We've had so many people on the live streams being like, actually, I really like Reuteler. I'm going to go watch Frankfurt now. I'm going to try the Frauen Bundesliga. I'm going to try and find Serie A. Because a lot of people thought because in the UK, a lot of it's on DAZN, and a lot of people thought, well, you need to pay. And it's like, no, you pay for the other stuff, but you don't pay for the women's football. You just log in and they're like, oh, okay. So suddenly people have got, new ways to watch. And it's like, this is why you need accessibility, because people will watch it if it's made available.
Freya, no one watches women's sports.
Yes, silly me. Yes. In fact, what are we doing here talking about it? Because no one watches it. Right then, we're getting through. So the final quarterfinal was France versus Germany. And this one felt like it probably should have been a semi-final or even a final, but it went a bit bizarre in the 13th minute, didn't it?
I don't really know why. Just why did she even do it?
Germany looked at the England-Sweden game and went, hang on, no, too many people are talking about this. Let's make ours.
Let me do an absolutely horrendous foul that no one will stop talking about. Because for those who may not have seen it, watching this episode of the podcast, or indeed listening, in the 13th minute, Catherine Hendrick tugs on the hair of a French player, and for literally no reason other than to try and stop her getting the ball. But as a hair pull, it wasn't even sometimes if your hair's down and you're going for the shirt and you might get the hair. It wasn't even she could have palmed it off as that. Yeah, it was just straight for the ponytail.
Honestly, I have rewatched so many times and I'm still not convinced that she did that on purpose. I'm not sure, honestly. Of course, it looked like that.
That's the thing. You've only got so many angles to watch it from. Yeah. Initially, in real time, it just looked like a coming together in the box, didn't it? But then, of course, when you slow it down and it looks worse, and then suddenly you think, oh, was that intentional? Was that? And you start thinking about all of these reasons. For a hair pull, of course, in the box, it was a straight red, and Germany were down to 10. Because it was a red, a penalty was awarded, and Graschioro was able to convert for 1-0. And then we thought, right, what are Germany going to do? Because, again, we spoke about it. Are they going to completely fall apart, as some would, going down to 10? Or actually, are they going to come together and make this? Are they going to make the French work for it? And yeah, bloody hell, the way that German side came together and kept pushing, and I genuinely thought they would have won it in regular time. What did other people think of that match? Did anyone have any thoughts about how that was going to end?
I genuinely, well, Germany had quite a bad injury as well, not long after that red card, so they had to then make a really early sub. So I was like a bit half and half, because I was really rooting for Germany, because I was like, I don't really want to face France if we make it to the final again, not after the catastrophe of last time. So, and plus I was like, you know, it'd be fun to do a little rematch. So I was then a bit 50-50, because they were already down to 10 men, and then they were like, had to make a really early sub, because I can't remember.
So that was Linda. So yeah, you're right. She'd gone off, and they were essentially down to 9.
Yeah, and they didn't make that sub for quite a while, so they were down to 9 for quite a while.
Player on, and the amount of strapping. I was watching them taping her ankle. Literally, it looked like they were trying to just hold it together with tape. And I was like, I'm going to keep playing her.
It was insane.
You've used like an entire roll of Medirap here. Like,
I know, and just you thought, is this going to be another knock literally to Germany? Like, what's going to happen? But we've talked about Eula Brand being incredible down the wings. Then Sjerka Nusken, who of course we know from Chelsea, in the 25th minute equaliser, had an incredible tournament. But of course, she picked up a yellow in this game, which meant she then couldn't play in the semi-final, which personally I think really, really hindered them in that midfield. But yeah, so there was 3 German yellow cards in that match and a red card, and the French got 2 yellows as well. This was the game, wasn't it, Sophie, we were talking about, where the ref really needed to take control?
Yeah.
She didn't.
And there was just so many fouls. I think someone said there was like 50 fouls in that game.
I can tell you.
A lot.
Just a few, yeah. So France 24 fouls, Germany 26.
Yeah, that's
only 5 cards given. Well, 6 including the red. But yeah, you can't have over 50 fouls in a match and only have a couple of cards. Like that's mad, isn't it?
It was spicy.
It was very spicy indeed. Camilla, did you watch this one?
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I thought that it could be not an easy win for France, but I was almost certain that France would have won because of what they showed during the rest of the tournament, Actually, I was surprised, and I don't really have sympathy for France, like, at all. But for me to admit this, it means that they were really good, and I just had to face the reality. So honestly, I already thought that they were going to the semifinal. And when Germany had the red card, I was like, okay, it's done. It's going to be a massacre. But then I honestly so much respect for what Germany did the rest of the game. And let me please mention that the Berger save that was.
I was going to say, we can't talk about this game without talking about Anne.
Oh my God,
the legend that she is. So yes, Camilla,
I think we are going to talk about that for the rest of our lives, probably. Yeah. It's something you see once, twice, if you're lucky, in a lifetime, something like that. It's something unbelievable, beyond human, probably. So yeah, after that, it was just impossible that game could end in any other way that Germany going through. Honestly, I was very happy that they did, honestly. And I was actually rooting for them yesterday as well, but yeah.
I know. And because initially when they went down to 10 and then technically 9, and just thought, they've got the character here to really push for it. And then when Berger made that save, and the more you watched it, the more you thought, how has she actually got back to the goal to do that? Because she's had to properly project herself back and leap all the way back to then swat it out. And you're just thinking, they have to win just for that.
Yeah.
But the fact that France were had the advantage for over 100 minutes. I think it was like over 110 minutes. And they still couldn't find a way through. You're absolutely right. There was only one way to do it, to get it to pens and then for Germany to go through. And it's just the image of Berger dropping down on her knees, Christ the Redeemer, just like, yep, we've done it.
That was the agonizing wait whilst VAR too early.
Yes. Also, yeah.
VAR, who doesn't show up for the past couple of matches, suddenly goes, hang on, I'll come back here.
Yeah.
And I will make you wait for that victory. So yes, Germany did go through on penalties, 6-5. A much more respectable scoreline than England's 3-2 against
Yeah, you could tell they practiced.
That's a practice though.
Yes, I heard that in one of the media interviews. They were like, yeah, no, we didn't practice either, but it's been part of our routine anyway, so we kind of knew. But they didn't particularly go, this is what's going to happen. But yeah, so let's get into it then. 2 more games to talk about. What a tournament. Sorry, Camilla.
I know.
We'll let Sophie and Emma take the most of it. Don't worry.
Thank you.
So it gets to Italy versus England, and people were very torn because Italy, very deserving of their place in the semi-final. England, as much as we love them, they are our country, we're rooting for them. Questionable how I got to this point, but they've managed and they're in the semi-final and one step away from retaining their title. Can they do it? So you've got your head versus your heart at this moment. And it comes to it and we're watching and you think, is this actually going to happen? Barbara Bonansea, who I think, Camilla, would I be right in thinking she's been a bit of a roller coaster of a player? Like she can have unbelievable matches and then not very good. So for her to be again at this tournament, to be starting, to have that role, and then the English defence just disappears and there's nothing. And Bonansea comes forward and is able to put Italy in the lead. And Camilla, I'll ask you about that good bit. So once you took the lead, was there that moment of, we can do this? England have been rubbish in this match.
It felt like that up to the Agman goal, honestly.
We'll keep in the positives with you, Camilla.
No, but it's okay. I mean, I have to face what happened. I can't be in denial for the rest of my life. At some point, no, honestly, okay, yeah. Let's be serious. Okay, before this game, and probably Sophie and Emma don't, and the rest of the people doesn't, but how I feel about England. I am an Arsenal fan, and I'm also an England fan, a Lionesses fan when we don't play against each other. But I was, as Freya was saying, it was before this game actually happened. I thought about it in theory, and I thought that no matter what happened, I was going to be at least somehow happy that a piece of my heart was going to the final no matter what. But honestly, this is not the way I'm feeling for the way it happened, because England had shown that they are superior during the game. If they earned, and I'm sorry to say this, guys, but if England had earned this spot in the final during the game, I would be saying probably different things. I would be feeling a little less this sense of injustice that I can't help but feeling for the past 3 days. Because of course it's also our fault that we were not able to convert the chances that we had to score a second goal, because you just have to do that in a semi-final. You can't just leave it to hope that the other team, and in this case the other team being England, doesn't at some point do anything with all of the talent, even if they are not showing a very good game, but with the level of quality that England has. And I was actually talking to a friend during the game, and I was saying the problem will probably be because from what we are seeing also in the second half, but especially in the first half, from what we are seeing, we are playing better. We can actually do it. But the problem might be that England has so many options on the bench, especially the attacking players, and our defenders are just there. You just can't. You can probably put in Chloe Kelly, Ajimang, I don't remember what was on the bench, but so many players, and you just can't take Salvai or Linari off and put someone of the same level or even better. They are just there, and at some point they will just be completely destroyed physically from the way they were chasing. Especially, I think it was Di Guglielmo or Oliviero that was chasing Hemp during the first half all over the place. I could actually tell this cannot last for 90 and more minutes. I could actually tell. Then we went to the 90 minutes and we were still up 1 goal. And really, this feeling, and the players have been saying it in these days, and is actually the same feeling that we are bringing inside us and would probably never leave us. That in 1 second we had this strong feeling that had been grown more and more during the game. We were almost there. We could literally see it. And in 1 second, we went from that feeling to the realization that the equalizer was just it. There was no way that we could went back in that game because Girelli was out, Cantore was out, who else was out? Bonanze was also out, and who was there? Giuliano was out. Who was there? Who could do it? I don't want to take anything from the players that were on the pitch, but those are moments of a game where you need the quality player, like that one moment of genius that
I need that magic.
yeah, it's of course is a team game. I don't want to take seriously anything away from the team or for what a team together can do, but not in that moment of a game, not like that.
No,
So
I completely agree. Yeah, it was heartbreaking because for the England fans who were watching it as reality, not through rose-tinted glasses of, oh God, it's like, this is heartbreaking. Because like you said, they performed so well for the majority of that match. To have it all taken away in extra time by 2 moments of magic. You just think, because like I said, Cantore and Girelli had always linked up, haven't they? And, to just not have that right at the end, and to have Michelle Adjuman again come on in the 96th minute out of 7 minutes of added time. And, people were saying, well, where did the 7 minutes come from? Should there have been 7 minutes? So that was the initial.
no, actually, that I have a friend of mine who was a former referee back in Italy that actually analyzed the 7 minutes and explained exactly why. Now I don't remember in the details, but the 7 minutes were actually.
It was a good 7 minutes.
Yeah, that was not the problem. The problem was, as we were saying before, the penalty. Honestly.
Yes, let's talk about it, shall we?
Yeah, we have to face it. The elephant in the room. We have to.
Once we'll get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So Michelle Adjuman's equalised, and from an English perspective, you think, we can't do this again. Surely we can't get the winner. We can't do it. And then the penalty call comes. And Sophie, Emma, for you, yes, it was given as a penalty. Should it have been given as a penalty?
I have only seen the initial angle, to be fair. The initial angle was it Beth Mead that was pulled down?
Yeah.
I think it was Beth Mead with an Italian player arms around and then just literally pulled down in the box.
It was Severini, wasn't it?
Did she go down easily? Possibly.
Yeah. It was
she could have, any player in that situation is going to go down easily, if that makes sense.
You're in the box.
But then should it have
moments.
been given?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of persuasion behind it, maybe to try and, or at least not as.
It's 50-50, and I can understand why.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because in that environment, if the ball is cleared to the box, and as a defender in the dying minutes, you think, I've just got to go for it. There's a risk of something happening.
Yeah, you can understand it.
However, Sophie, what about for you?
Yeah, I did not catch the penalty live.
You were spared.
So I saw the aftermath, but I didn't actually. I was doing something else at the same time because it was so painful, that game.
Don't tell me.
I'm going out. Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going.
I
Yeah.
accepted it.
A lot of people had
I was sat
started
there
going, yeah,
accepting
okay, we've had a bit of a poor run, but we'll go to a semi-final, you know, it's fine. But yeah, I think for me, watching it back from a couple of different angles, I think there was a bit of pushing and pulling on both sides. I think Beth was just as to blame as Severini was. It was soft. It probably shouldn't have been given. It probably should have gone to pens. And I think if it had gone to penalties, I think that would have been a fairer way to say, right, England have had a pretty overall rubbish game, but they managed to have 5 minutes of good play.
Exactly.
So let's just take it to penalties.
Just read the room. You can't give a penalty like that in the 120th minute of a semi-final. You just can't. To me, of course, I know I'm slightly biased.
What?
Just maybe a tiny bit. To me, you see like at least 10 of those situations in every football game. It cannot just be a penalty every time, and especially because it was off the ball. It's one of those classic situation, from a corner, from any set piece, where the defender and the attacker just pull each other. It's just mutual.
Yeah.
You just cannot. I'm not saying that Severini didn't touch her, but you could actually tell that Beth Mead was hanging and would somehow pull her down.
Yeah,
so it was mutual. It's one of those situations you just okay, maybe she saw it worse than it was, but why the VAR did not call her to rewatch it?
That's the thing. That's where you need VAR to be this game done properly, because things like that then wouldn't happen. Because you're right, it wasn't as if Severini pushed her down. It wasn't as if Beth had done something the other way. It was very much, it was equal, that challenge, in my personal opinion. So yeah, I don't think it should have been given at all. So yeah, I can only apologize for that.
I really appreciate it.
But yeah, no, for them to go out like that. But the fact that Italy made it this far for the first time it was nearly 30 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was in 27 or 28 years, 28. But it was the first time in the 16-team format Euro. Because the previous time was only 8 teams.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So the fact that this team is in such a good position and in such a good trajectory to keep going and to keep ascending. And it's very much what we said about Wales, what we said about Switzerland. It's investment. And that's what needs to happen now when, look how far the team can go with, minimal investment.
Minimum. Yeah. I want to underline that word because it's not like we had this much in Italy in terms of investment, in terms of visibility, in terms of project, especially. So I want to underline how big this achievement is with the little that we were given. It's almost completely an achievement that was to be credited to the players and to Sonchin and his staff almost entirely. I don't want, honestly, Italian Federation to take credit of it because I am so angry with. I mean, of course they did something, but it's not their success. It's the players and the coaching staff.
Yeah,
that's
the
it.
players that have got them there, absolutely, and it just shows if they can do that without the investment and the back in, what can they become with the right investment and the right people to say the women are quite good, aren't they? Let's actually take them to that next level.
At least a medium, I don't want to say long-term plan, but at least a medium plan, of sustainability of everything.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. To have, right, we reached the semi-final this time, we'll do it again next time. And we'll keep that's our goal now.
Not just that, but in terms of sustainability of the entire football pyramid.
Yeah.
It's not something, I don't know how Sophie and Emma are familiar with what happens in the Italian leagues in the lower tiers, but we are almost on a daily basis especially in the summer. This team did not register for Serie B. This team did not register for Serie C. This team registered but was not able to pay the players, so they are on a strike. So you hear it almost every day because there aren't any long-term, medium-term plan for it to be sustainable for the clubs below Serie A. And also in Serie A, the one that are investing at the moment as you do with the startup. And I know is the same almost all over the world aside from the US and now probably England, but is especially bad in Italy and below Serie A is. So the difference between the top of the pyramid and just beside that is so big that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, because it's all well and good expanding Serie A, but it's okay. Well, can the Serie B teams can they they come up and compete and stay up? And it's what we talk about with the Championship as well in England. We'd love to have more teams get promoted because they deserve it. There's so many good players and teams, but they don't have the budget that your Chelseas and your Arsenals do, and that is a club thing, but it's also a federation thing to help and to really support us. So it's, and that's why we talk about it, isn't it? To raise more awareness of what's actually going on. So then last one, it was Germany versus Spain, the last semi-final, to see who England were facing. This, I think, was probably one of the most frustrating matches that I have watched in this tournament. Again, doing a live stream of it. We went on to what's our favourite words? What are the longest words in different languages? We went off on so many tangents because nothing was happening. So we were trying to fill the time. And it was interesting to watch because, again, we talked about Spain having the mentality of, oh, they're Spain, they're going to come out and perform and they're going to be creative and, it's going to be a pleasure to watch it. They looked really disjointed and they didn't look like themselves and they didn't look like the Spain that you'd imagine would come out in a semi-final. And it was very strange to watch. And they were getting very frustrated. And the communication was all over the place. And they were shouting at each other, and I was like, "Oh, are we witnessing a bit of a breakdown here of this team?" And Emma, did you watch this one?
Yeah,
what
I did.
What did you think of it?
The one thing I'm going to say, it was really frustrating for both Germany and Spain, and this is coming from I was sitting watching it as a neutral, for none of their chances to go in. It was kind of like they were the Villa and there was a massive vortex around the goal because nothing was going in, and it was so frustrating for me watching it. So I dread to think how the players felt because I was getting so frustrated. I was like, why couldn't it have just gone in? Because I feel like if one of those goals would have gone in earlier on in the game, I think it would have brought the game to life because then it would have been back and forth because they're very, very good teams. So it would have been very end-to-end football, which is what I'm all about. But then there was just nothing going in and it was so annoying.
It was annoying, yes. So just to, put some stats behind Emma's annoyance, Germany had 15 shots, 4 on target. Spain had 22 shots and only 9 on target. Spain had nearly triple the amount of passes, as you'd expect. 20 fouls for Spain, 14 for Germany. And again, it was getting to the point where they're just trying to make force an error at this point because, like you said, nothing was going in, nothing was happening. And Bon Mati is one of those players who usually can make something out of nothing, a bit like what Lauren James can do. And you just think she was so frustrated, and her reactions to the shots not going in and not being able to get past Germany. They were playing at such a similar level that none of them really looked like they were going to do it. And you thought, is this going to be 0-0 after extra time? Are we going to go to penalties again? Because I don't think anyone could have taken more penalties at that point. Sophie, did you manage to watch this one?
Yes, unfortunately.
What else did you think about this one?
It was so frustrating. It was awful. Like Emma said, the amount of shots that just didn't go in, and you could see the players.
Final, was it?
What I will say was very funny was watching Spain get more and more and more frustrated and more rattled, because I don't think we see that a lot, and it shows that they can be rattled and they can be got at. I will say, very interesting for Bon Mati's goal, how she scored that. I don't know. You had all these shots that were
I know.
Should have been so easy, and then the most impossible looking shot.
Angle on that shot was mad. How? Yeah. So if that was taken out of that game and put in another game, beautiful.
Yeah.
The fact it had to be that goal in that game in the 113th minute.
Yeah, it just killed Germany.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't blame them. We've said they've been plagued by injury, by suspensions. That wasn't a top German side, was it? And even Leah Schuler didn't come on until extra time. And you thought, she's your number 9. Like, why is she not on?
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was an injury or a worry that wasn't communicated, but not that we were aware of, I don't think. But yeah, but she comes on and she has a shot straight away. And you're like, that's what you've been missing. So it was just a bit of a weird and wonderful one.
Interesting after the game of Ann-Katrin Berger saying it was her fault for leaving the near post open, which, I mean, it wasn't her fault because there's 10 other players on that pitch that have got a job to do.
Yeah, you've got to get through all of them before you get to Berger. Yeah, because Bonmati said, we picked up in training that sometimes she leaves the near post. Yeah. And he just thinks everything Berger's done to have that is the thing that picks them out. But we're going to say something else there, Sophie?
Yeah, just her technical knowledge, Bonmati, is incredible. Like how she sees the game is next level.
Yeah. I was going to say, normally a joy to watch, but that goal did save it, I suppose. I suppose it was worthy of getting them through. But yes, so the inevitable happened. Spain did find a way through to get through to a final, which means the final on Sunday is going to be a rematch of the World Cup, England versus Spain. Yeah,
I will say, so you guys don't have to, hopefully with a different ending from the World Cup.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
I'm not jinxing it. I really hope it.
Touch. I don't have any wood. Touch wood. Yeah, I mean, who knows? If the England that play the last 10 minutes, if that England turns up, great. If the England that we've seen recently turn up, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be awful.
And again, if the Spain that played Germany turns up, it could be a really long evening.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Spain, as we've said, look even more human than they ever have done. So, Camilla, from an outsider's perspective, and again, sorry about the semi-final, how realistically, how do you see this one playing out? Do you think it's time for Spain to finally win a Euros?
I really hope not, honestly.
Sentiment is shared. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. No, it was just because not that England can be considered an underdog, because never. In this case, Spain are just that team that you expect to always win, and it would be so boring, honestly, if they also win this tournament. And of course, as I was telling you, if I try to forget for a second about the semi-final, my heart is English, so of course I want England to go through a back-to-back Euro title. So I definitely hope not, but from what we saw during this tournament, it's impossible to predict how it goes, because both of them have shown the best and the worst of themselves. So I think it's a final, so of course the mindset will be a key factor, but I will say more about England because it's the team that I know best among the two, but especially for England, I think is also I don't know if you guys mentioned this before I joined, but it also will be very important the starting 11 that Sarina will choose, because I don't think that she has been the best in doing that in this tournament, and even before that, to be honest with you. So I think she is too reluctant to make changes from the idea that she has of a starting 11, and at some point you can't ignore that you have better players on the bench, and they show to you. So not just during this tournament, but so many times. So I don't know if she will stick to same old starting 11 or she will make a little bit more braver choices. I don't know, but we'll see. It can really go either way. It's impossible to predict. Both teams have shown madness.
I love that. Both teams have shown madness. Yes, absolutely. Because I was writing my notes for this and I was like, predictions? Question mark. Because
no predictions.
what I have no idea. I genuinely can't call it because, like Camilla's just said, we've had some great football, we've had some awful football, we've had some interesting subs, we've had, you know, the starting 11, we've said for a very long time, needs more flexibility in it and needs other people to, you know, show what they can do, because we love Lucy Bronze, but she's not going to be there forever as much as she
We don't have anyone to replace her at the minute either.
We don't have anyone to replace her because no one's had that chance.
I've been hearing this for at least the past couple of years. The tournament also years.
And it's still a huge question because you've got people on the bench like your Maya Letizier's who would be brilliant in the more physical matches because we've seen what she can do for United, but doesn't get a look in. I do have to say Esme Morgan has improved a lot. I'm very impressed because I think for a long time, because she wasn't playing much for City and then she wasn't really, and then she moved out to America. So a lot of the time, no one could really see what she was doing. And when she did come on, because she was, you know, new to the senior team at that point, we were like, really? She's getting chosen over some of the other ones? But now I see it. So I just want to take everything back.
We're talking about, when you asked earlier about players who had impressed that you didn't expect, I think Esme Morgan's one of them, even though she is a lioness.
Yeah.
But still a bit of an unknown. And I think if you're going to come up against Spain, who have clearly been doing their homework, like we saw with Anne-Catherine Berger, put some people on that they don't expect. Get Jess Park on. Get Michelle Adjman on earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not saying start Adjman, but get her on earlier than the 96
minutes. About 80 minutes, because they're not miracle workers.
Yeah, they need time to integrate and to perform and to make their chance. And, you know, Chloe Kelly has been superb off the bench. I will give her that. That's been a really good shout. But even, you know, your Toons, your Stanways, your Walshes, that's what everyone expects. So mix it up a bit. Just give more people a chance. But even, you know, we've seen Leah play more of a defensive midfield at some point. Not saying she should be a direct defensive midfielder, but even just have an extra cover in that defensive line. So bring Neve Charles on as well. Like, bring someone else on and still have Leah on the pitch, you know, trying to guide things and control it.
I think our main downfall as well is Kira Walsh. Like, as good as she is, we have no imagination when Kira Walsh is on the pitch, because it's get the ball to Kira will get it to the front line.
And when she's by 4 or 5 players, then nothing can go through the midfield. Yeah,
we can't. It's like the World Cup all over again. I said this when she got injured at the World Cup. That forced a change in the midfield that worked. We then went back when she was fine and not injured to the same thing, and then it didn't work again. Like, Serena somehow isn't like putting 2 and 2 together and thinking, oh, maybe this is working. And then if worse comes to worse, we can fall back on Kira. Like, we're not saying that she can't play, but try something different. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or even try something different with Kira in that sense, because Kira's too. Yeah, I wouldn't say bench her, but I would say try something else. A lot of the time, we've had Plan A doesn't work. Where's Plan B? And Plan B hasn't existed. You know, we're struggling through. I think the worst thing now would be, because we've been so jammy all the way through, to lose spectacularly to Spain. That would be the worst, I think, outcome of this one. Yeah, Sophie, how are you feeling ahead?
How am I feeling?
Ahead of Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not gonna lie. I have no clue how it's gonna go. It could be a really long evening.
Yeah, and I'm live streaming it again as well for my
I go stick my gut feeling in of we could have extra time and penalties.
I can't do penalties.
Honestly, I hope not.
I can't do it. It took me a very long time for my chest to stop hurting after the last penalties, because I just couldn't take it. But yeah, we need to get it done. in the
I
time.
would really like the match to be over in 90 minutes.
Be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
No
That'd be
goal, not
nice.
even like a couple of minutes after the 90. Just like, no, on the 90, off, done.
There will be extra time though.
Well, we've had official confirmation. Stephanie Frappard is going to be the ref. Good. We like Stephanie Frappard.
I couldn't remember. I know she's a WSL ref usually, and I don't know if that's.
She was very good at the World Cup, you know, when they had the mic and they were telling everyone what
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And she incredible. So I'm very happy that we have that ref. Because again, not to let our bias talk, but Spain sometimes they call for the foul, don't they? And they call to the ref. And Frappard
Yeah.
won't stand for it. So there we go. That's what we're saying. So just to sum up then, we don't know what's going to
don't
happen
know.
on Sunday.
It's going to be
No,
strange.
but we do know.
Like, I think it'll be a massive like 3-2 or like banging loads of goals in, or it'll be a 1-0. Like, there's no in
Yeah, it'd be
between.
like the Germany-Spain game where it's 1-0. That's it. Because again, it was
Yeah.
in the World Cup, wasn't it? It was just the single goal. Well, let's hope, as Camilla said earlier, that it is not a repeat of the World Cup final and that England can do the unthinkable, do the impossible. How? But to retain their Europe.
I think England always do better when they feel like the backs are against the wall, though.
Yeah, I hope so. I
Yeah.
really hope. I hope they're going to go out all guns blazing, start strong from the beginning. And as we've seen, if you don't let Spain play their game,
They get very
just how
cranky.
much- yeah, just how much they can indeed fall apart. So we're keeping everything crossed that England can, at least if it's a good performance and we still lose, at least we've gone out and given it everything.
Go down with
Yeah,
That's
go out with dignity. Not another, have we done that? At a major tournament. Well, that has been a mega mammoth one, but we had so much to get through. And I am very grateful for all of you for joining me this evening. So thank you to everyone who has watched this, who has listened on Spotify and all other audio platforms. The new season of the All 115 Yards Women's Football Podcast and the Part of the Pride Aston Villa Women's Football Podcast will be starting, well, in about a month and a half's time when the leagues begin again. And for the whole 115 yards, I have some very special episodes planned and in the works. So keep your eye out on social media to follow us for all of the latest updates. And there will be a little video reminding you where to like, share, subscribe, etc. Now, Camilla, thank you so much for joining us this evening and giving us your tale of the Italian team as well. It's been fantastic to get your perspective. Where can people find you and your wonderful work?
You go to the Same Game.IT and you can find all my platforms over there.
Which we love. And Sophie and Emma, of course, thank you so much as well for your knowledge. And you'll be both back joining me on Part of the Pride when we start up again, actually doing signings, which has been quite impressive, and actual good signings at that as well. So yes, my name is Freya. I've been your host for this evening. So once again, thank you so much for listening. And when you see the handles come up in a moment, please remember to like and subscribe and share if you've liked this podcast. So thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Good night.